Good afternoon.
Brendra.
And Richard Chen reporting from CBC News. Today, we are going to be discussing Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a country in the Middle East located in the continent of Asia, and the capital is Riyadh. Saudi Arabia is bordered by Jordan and Iraq to the north, Kuwait to the northeast, Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates to the east, Oman to the southeast, and Yemen to the south. It is the only nation with both a Red Sea coast and a Persian Gulf coast, and most of its terrain consists of arid desert and mountains.
The flag of Saudi Arabia is green, which is a traditional color for Islam. It also has Arabic writing above a sword that points to the hoist side of the flag, which translates to, "There is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet." As said in the name of the country itself, Saudi Arabia mostly consists of Arabs who follow the religion of Islam and speak Arabic.
For a country that's mostly made up of deserts and mountains, it has a population of 32 million people, a little lower than Canada. It also has a surprising GDP of $646 billion US, which makes them the 14th richest country in the world. The number one reason why a small country covered in sand is doing so well in terms of money is because of the abundant supply of oil that's being exported from there. In fact, Saudi Arabia is the number one oil producing country in the world.
Saudi Arabia achieved independence and became a country in 1934 after being split into two by separate religious groups, the Hejaz and the Najd. Both groups united to prevent future war and became the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia follows an absolute monarchy in which the king is the head of state and government, in other words, a dictatorship.
Their current king is Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud. Saudi Arabia's history of human rights is known as one of the worst in the world, and is one of the few countries that will still not accept the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. They break many of the articles, thus leading to the horrible human rights situation in Saudi Arabia.
Article 1 and 2 in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which are the right to equality and freedom from discrimination, are strongly being violated in Saudi Arabia. The reason why is because of the unfair treatment of women. Some of the unfair treatments are, women are not allowed to make major decisions in a household without the male's permission. Also, there's a strict dress code for women, so they can only wear a specific garment in public. Men and women aren't allowed to wait in the same line in restaurants or any other public places. In fact, men and women are given their own lines. Though it doesn't put anyone in harm's way, it does, however, cause discomfort.
Only a month ago, women were given the ability to obtain a driver's license. In the past, they would get arrested and maybe even locked up if they were seen operating a vehicle. Due to their strict religion, homosexuality is illegal, and anyone caught would be imprisoned and sometimes beheaded. Article 1 and 2 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are strongly being broken in Saudi Arabia, which makes discrimination a huge problem.
Article 3 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the right to life, liberty, personal security, is also being violated. This means that innocent people are being put in harm's way, which is unfair and unjust. The violations occurred when the coalition, which is a government-funded alliance formed to stop the rebellion forces that are currently at war with their government in the country, Yemen, who are allowed airstrikes on civilian territories as they were in the crossfire. This obviously causes problems for the thousands of people that are affected by the strikes. Article 10 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the right to fair public hearing, is also being violated. The government holds trials, but they are often biased and the offender is proven guilty most of the time. Often people are denied of their lawyers and are given detentions up to 6 months even if they haven't been proven guilty. If they are found guilty, they may be executed. Saudi Arabia often performs executions about 2 per week, which is very high compared to other countries. Most of these executions often held in public places, where the offender is often beheaded. The major reason for beheadings is due to their strict religion, which oversees illegal businesses as well. The way a person is judged is based on the religious codes that were wrote in the medieval times.
Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the freedom of opinion and information, is also being violated in Saudi Arabia. It states that everyone has the right to express themselves and their opinions on any topic, regardless of whether they agree to it or not. Whereas in Saudi Arabia, no one is allowed to stand up to anything such as the government-approved airstrikes, or else they would be imprisoned and tortured. Even though it doesn't cause any harm to anyone, but for a Western inhabitant this might be shocking. Public movie theaters are banned due to the fear of people getting turned on and having sexual relationships outside of marriage in movie theaters. Ridiculous.
In Canada, we have the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms to protect us from the government, but they have no sort in Saudi Arabia. Many of the sections of the CCRF are being infringed upon in Saudi Arabia. They include Section 2, the fundamental freedoms. Section 3, the right to vote. Section 4, the maximum legislature time at 5 years. Section 6, mobility rights. Section 7, right to life. These are just some of the sections of the CCRF that are being infringed, but there are way more.
Raif Badawi, a human rights activist, was sentenced to 10 years in prison and 1,000 lashes, violating Article 5 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Section 12 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. He was arrested in 2012 and Amnesty International designated Badawi a prisoner of conscience, detained solely for peacefully exercising his right to freedom of expression. Even in Saudi Arabia, where state repression is rife, it is beyond the pale to seek the death penalty for an activist whose only crime was to enable social debate online. Calling for the government to drop the charges, Human Rights Watch stated the charges against him, based solely to Badawi's involvement in setting up a website for a peaceful discussion about religion and religious figures, violate his right to freedom of expression. Walid Abu Al-Khair, a human rights lawyer, was sentenced to 15 years in prison. He was arrested in July 2014, and Amnesty International also designated Al-Khair a prisoner of conscience. He was put in jail just because of his beliefs, violating Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Section 2 of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. He has a family, but they're currently in hiding. Unfortunately, Al-Khair also suffers from diabetes.
Both of these men should be released as they have done nothing wrong and only expressed their opinion. The United Nations has condemned Saudi Arabia for their horrible human rights and huge discrimination. Other countries are also trying to persuade them to improve the situation, but Saudi Arabia keeps on refusing to do anything.
Although the human rights situation in Saudi Arabia are one of the worst, their government did not allow NGOs to operate until November 2015. Currently, there are only a few NGOs that are running. One of the few NGOs that are located in Saudi Arabia is the Al-Nada Philanthropic Society for Women. Al-Nada was founded in 1962, working to rehabilitate women. They're focused on ensuring the participation of women, preserving their dignity, and building their capacity to leadership positions. They are trying to make positive change in society while also being transparent and honest.
Another NGO that is located in Saudi Arabia is Al-Wafa Philanthropic Association. Al-Wafa is focused on helping society become a better place by doing things such as helping the childhood and motherhood care at all stages, helping raise the social, cultural, health, and religious level of the Saudi family, raising Saudi women's awareness of their role in society, and many more. In brief, there are many big crises in Saudi Arabia. Although there are a lot of rich people, there are also many poor people. There's a huge wealth gap. Discrimination is a huge part of everyone's lifestyle in Saudi Arabia, especially for women and homosexuals. The legal system is corrupted by strict religion, and due to the absolute monarchy that is practiced there, freedom of expression is essentially banned. Also, those who try to help these falsely imprisoned people like Amnesty are often denied access to information and are restricted from helping.
For us in Canada, we live with beautiful rights, not having to worry about getting arrested for doing small things, such as just voicing our opinion. We need more people to help with these innocents who have been falsely imprisoned. Act now for a better future.
Thank you for your time. Tune in again next week where we'll discuss China.